Okay, let's dive in. Today we're looking deep into European law firms. A field we often think of as, well, pretty traditional.
Right, steeped in history. But the big story now is generative AI. It's making some serious waves, and adoption is, well, it's moving faster than many might expect.
Exactly. And we're basing this deep dive on some solid ground, a recent report which got a nice summary over on solicitornews.co.uk.
Yeah, it's sourced from the Global Legal Post, working with LexisNexis. And critically, it includes views directly from top firms across Europe, places like Spain, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Belgium, real on-the-ground perspectives.
So our goal here is pretty clear. Pull out the six main takeaways from this report. We want to get a real feel for how this tech is changing legal practice, client interactions, and even, how new lawyers learn the ropes.
Think of it as your sort of shortcut guide to what's happening right now at the cutting edge of legal tech adoption in Europe.
All right, let's get into it. The first big point seems to be that how firms are bringing AI in is...
Well, it's all over the place. That's exactly right. Takeaway number one, forget a one-size-fits-all approach. How European law firms are successfully adopting Gen AI. It really hinges on their specific size, their culture.
So like a huge international firm versus a smaller boutique practice, they're tackling this completely differently.
Precisely. The report really highlights that contrast. Smaller firms, maybe they can be a bit more nimble, adopt tools quicker, less disruption internally.
Less bureaucracy, maybe.
Probably. Whereas the big players, they tend to go for a more, phased, very deliberate rollout. They have to manage that change across maybe thousands of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. It reminds me of that quote from Sebastian Bardou at LexisNexis.
Oh, yeah. You can't just turn on a switch and say everyone is going to use it. It just doesn't work like that in a large organization.
And just getting the tech available isn't enough, is it? The report really hammers home the need for proper support.
Absolutely not. It's not just here's the software, good luck. Things like technical training, having resources like prompt libraries ready to go, these are called out as crucial.
Especially for the junior lawyers, right? They're often the first ones expected to use these new tools day to day.
Exactly. And you want that first experience to be positive. Eric Wagner at LexisNexis, he said something like, we want to ensure a good user experience from the very first moment.
Because if it's confusing or clunky at the start,
people just won't use it. They'll go back to the old ways, even if the tool itself is powerful. Uptake really suffers.
Yeah, that tracks. So thinking about this for you, the listener, this isn't just a law firm thing, is it? It shows that bringing in any major new tech, especially AI, needs a plan that fits your company's size and how it works. It's got to be tailored.
Definitely. It's a bespoke implementation. Okay, so that's how firms are adopting it. The next big area the report covers is, well, the people using it and the skills they need.
Ah, right. The second key takeaway, the actual skills lawyers need are changing quite significantly.
This is where it gets really interesting for the future, I think. It's not saying legal knowledge is less important. Absolutely not.
No, you still need to be a lawyer.
Of course. But the abilities you need to apply that knowledge effectively are evolving because of AI.
So what are these new core skills then?
Well, the report flags a couple of big ones. First, lawyers need to get really good at writing effective prompts, basically. Knowing how to ask the AI the right questions to get something useful back.
Okay, prompt engineering for lawyers.
Pretty much. And maybe even more critical. They need to be sharp at evaluating what the AI gives them. Really looking at it with a critical eye. Beatriz Rodriguez Gomez from Roca Junior put it well. We have to get people used to being critical of the input and output of these tools.
Because the AI can sound so convincing, right? Even when it might be, subtly wrong or making things up, hallucinating.
Exactly. So the lawyer's judgment, that critical filter, becomes even more important, not less. They're the ultimate quality control.
And there's another side to this skills shift, isn't there? If AI handles more routine stuff,
then the human skills become even more valuable. The report points to things like client relationships. Vittorio Pomerici at Bonelli Areda suggested that as AI takes over repetitive work, the difference will be made by how you respond to your client's needs.
Right. So maybe less time buried in documents, more time understanding the client, advising strategically, being that trusted partner.
That's the idea. AI does the grunt work. The lawyer focuses on the higher level human-centric value.
This really echoes what we're seeing in lots of fields. Technical tools change fast, But that critical thinking, the communication, the relationship building, those become the real differentiators.
They're the durable skills. And that leads directly into a potentially tricky area. The third takeaway, AI automating junior lawyer tasks really challenges the traditional way lawyers have always been trained.
Ah, the apprenticeship model. This is fundamental, isn't it? For generations, you learned by doing the basic, often repetitive stuff first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Document review, drafting simple clauses, pulling together research memos. Paul Agones Frere from Vieira de Almeida nailed it. Law is traditionally an apprenticeship model, where people learn by doing easy and repetitive tasks.
So if AI starts doing those easy and repetitive tasks faster and maybe even better, what happens to the trainees? How do they learn?
It's a huge question. Firms have to rethink that whole development pathway. What tasks do junior lawyers do to build foundational skills? It might force changes in recruitment, too, looking for slightly different aptitudes, perhaps.
And there's a talent angle here, too, right? Keeping the workplace attractive.
Definitely. The report mentions that having up-to-date tech isn't just about efficiency anymore. It's crucial for attracting and, importantly, keeping young talent, especially Gen Z.
They expect a tech-enabled workplace.
Right. Stefan Creel at Menard Law had a pretty blunt quote on this. The trainees now and tomorrow are Gen Z. If they came to our office and we handed them paper, they simply wouldn't stay.
Wow. So tech adoption becomes a factor in the war for talent.
It absolutely does. Firms need to look forward-thinking just to compete for the best people.
So again, thinking broader, how are those traditional entry-level roles or training paths changing in your industry because of automation or new tools? This challenge to the apprenticeship idea, it's probably not just happening in law.
Very likely not. Okay, moving from people and skills to the bigger picture.
Mm.
Takeaway number 4. This isn't just about making small improvements. AI offers a chance for complete process transformation.
This feels important. It's not just about using AI to do the same old things a bit faster.
Exactly. It's about fundamentally rethinking how legal work gets done, how services are delivered. Mathieu Balzerini at LexisNexis said it involves reshaping processes, mindsets, and incentives. It's much deeper than just plugging in a new tool.
It requires actually questioning the established ways of doing things.
Yeah, and being willing to potentially redesign entire workflows. The report gives the example of in-house legal teams. AI can really shift their focus.
How so?
Well, instead of maybe getting bogged down and reviewing mountains of standard contracts or doing routine compliance checks, AI can handle a lot of that initial work.
Freeing up the in-house lawyers for more strategic stuff.
Precisely. They can focus more on giving proactive advice that really helps the business achieve its goals. Andrew Cook at TravelPerk framed it perfectly, focusing on how effective we are at addressing customer problems, not just ticking off legal tasks.
That's a big shift from just processing work to actually driving business outcomes. That's where the real transformation happens.
That's the goal.
So for you listening, are there core ways you work, processes in your job or industry that could be completely reimagined for better results, not just small efficiencies using new tech like AI? Are you thinking transformation or just optimization?
Good question. Now let's look outwards. The 5th takeaway tackles the client side of things, specifically how firms are dealing with different client attitudes towards AI.
Yeah, this sounds complicated because clients aren't all on the same page, are they?
Not at all. The report shows a real spectrum. You've got some clients who are excited, actively encouraging their law firms to use AI, maybe even expecting it.
And then others who are more cautious.
Or even explicitly saying, please don't use these tools on our matters, perhaps due to concerns about data privacy or confidentiality.
Which means firms need really clear internal rules.
Absolutely critical.
Right.
They need strong, clear policies. What tools were okay to use? How should they be used or not used, depending on the client or the type of work? When is specific consent needed?
Everyone needs to be on the same page internally.
Exactly. Margarita Saragosa at VDA emphasized this. Our policies have to be spread out so everybody knows what AI tools can or cannot be used. Clarity is paramount.
Because alongside the caution, there's also this growing expectation from clients, right? Especially the tech-savvier ones.
Yes, the report notes that. An increasing number of clients expect their firms to be using AI, not just to have it, but to use it to be more efficient. Thomas Muir at Hengel Mueller said, they want us to integrate AI into our workflow and become more efficient.
So firms are kind of caught in the middle, balancing confidentiality concerns with demands for efficiency.
It's definitely a tightrope walk. You have to address the valid concerns while also showing you're innovating and delivering value effectively using modern tools.
So, for you, the listener, dealing with your own clients or stakeholders, how do you handle it when they have different views on new tech or new methods you're introducing? This legal world example really highlights that clear communication and really solid, well understood internal guidelines are key.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, last one, the sixth key takeaway. And this one could be truly transformative for the business of law. AI is pushing a shift towards value-based billing
Moving away from the billable hour, that's huge. That model is dominated forever.
for decades.
Mhm.
But the logic is pretty compelling. If AI lets a firm do something like, say, review thousands of documents for due diligence, much, much faster.
Or draft a first cut of a contract in minutes instead of hours.
Exactly. Or maybe conduct a far more thorough analysis in the same amount of time. The value delivered to the client increases, even if the hours spent decrease.
So the fee should reflect the value, not just the time clock.
That's the argument. It might justify the same fee or even a different fee structure based on the outcome, the quality, the problem solved, rather than just tracking minutes. Raul Rubio at Perez Yorca made a great point. Often the market focuses on cost cutting, but Gen AI is much more about adding value.
Interesting. So it's not necessarily about being cheaper, but about delivering more for the money.
Right. The client gets a better result, or a faster result, or a more comprehensive result. Sebastian Bardou from LexisNexis highlighted that client benefit. This is the benefit: they won't charge less, but they'll give me much more value.
It forces everyone to think differently about what they're actually paying for. It's the expertise, the solution, not just the effort.
It shifts the focus from time as a commodity to the actual value of the service, with technology enabling that shift.
And, this goes way beyond law firms. If AI lets professionals in any field do work much faster, how do you measure and charge for value when time isn't the main factor anymore?
It really questions the fundamental business model in many service industries.
Okay, let's quickly wrap up what we've pulled from this deep dive on the report about Gen AI and European law firms. First, adoption is varied, needs tailored plans and good support.
Right. Second, skills are shifting critical thinking, and client skills are becoming even more key.
Third, the traditional training model is under pressure, forcing a rethink of talent development.
Fourth, AI is an opportunity for real process transformation, not just minor tweaks.
Fifth, firms have to navigate diverse client expectations with clear policies and communication.
And sixth, perhaps the biggest shift, AI is driving the move towards billing based on value delivered, not just hours spent.
So, the big picture from this report is clear. Gen AI isn't just a new tool. It's a major force pushing significant change through the legal sector. It's touching everything: internal work, talent, client relationships, even the basic business model.
It's a fascinating period of transformation for a traditionally conservative field.
Absolutely. And that leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. If the billable hour, this long-standing pillar of how law firms and many other professional services charge, is genuinely being challenged by AI making work faster and more efficient, what does that mean elsewhere?
Yeah, think about consulting, accounting, creative services. Anywhere time has historically equaled money.
How might your field need to start fundamentally rethinking how it defines, delivers, and charges for value in a world where AI can accelerate so much of the work? What does value truly look like now from both the provider's and, crucially, the client's perspective? Something to think about.